Why is it that your grandparents could buy a house on one salary, but you can't even rent one without going broke? Why does something as basic as a roof over your head, something your parents saw as a starting point, now feel like a finish line you'll never cross? Why do you work harder, earn more, and somehow still fall behind? Here's the thing nobody tells you. You were never meant to afford a house easily. You were meant to finance it. Because the housing market isn't just about homes anymore. It's the backbone of the entire modern economy. Picture this. You've been saving for years, skipping vacations, eating cheap, watching the market obsessively. Finally, you've scraped together enough for a down payment. You find a place. Small, nothing fancy, but it's yours. Or it could be. You run the numbers. It's tight but manageable. And then the email hits your inbox. Rates have changed. In one line, your dream disappears. A few decimal points, and it's gone. You start over. Save more. Wait longer. Watch the prices climb faster than your savings ever could. And here's the part that stings. The harder you try to catch up, the further the finish line moves. This isn't a glitch in the system. It is the system. Let's rewind. After World War II, governments faced a problem. How do you keep economies growing when the factories stop building tanks? The answer? Build homes. A lot of them. They realized that if they could turn housing into a growth engine, they could keep people working, borrowing, and spending. When people buy homes, they take loans. When they take loans, banks create money. When banks create money, economies expand. So governments started promoting home ownership, not as shelter, but as stimulus. They built the American dream around it. Own your home, build your future, be independent. It sounded noble, but behind the curtain, it was a financial machine. Every mortgage was a small factory printing new money. Every buyer was a worker inside that factory, unknowingly keeping the machine alive. So governments made it easier to borrow. Low down payments, longer terms, tax deductions for interest, government-backed mortgages. They didn't just make housing accessible, they made it essential. Because a population in debt is a population that keeps the system spinning. But when everyone can borrow, prices don't stay stable. Credit expands. Prices rise. More people borrow to chase them. Prices rise again. You see the loop? Housing became a feedback cycle, a self-reinforcing spiral of debt disguised as prosperity. Governments loved it. Banks loved it. Builders loved it. Investors loved it. Everyone benefited except the next generation. Over time, something subtle happened. Homes stopped being built for living in. They started being built for investment. When money got cheap, when interest rates fell, people with access to capital didn't buy a home. They bought many. Housing became a wealth storage device, a safer, shinier bank account that paid rent. It wasn't just families buying anymore. It was corporations, funds, pension managers, even governments themselves. Because in a world addicted to credit, real estate became the perfect drug. And here's the problem. When homes become financial assets, their prices have to go up forever. If they stop rising, the illusion breaks. The economy slows. Debt contracts. Recessions happen. So governments can't let prices fall. They celebrate rising housing costs like victory. They call it growth. But what it really means is this. The richer the asset owners get, the poorer the new buyers become. Because what's prosperity for one generation is prison for the next. So governments keep doing the same thing. They subsidize demand, not supply. First-time buyer grants, zero-interest loans, tax incentives. All of them sound helpful, but they don't make homes affordable. They make borrowing easier, which pushes prices higher. You think they're helping you. They're helping the system use you. Because affordable housing isn't a policy goal. It's an oxymoron in a debt-based economy. If homes ever became truly affordable again, the entire system would slow down. And that's not allowed. So we end up here. The average mortgage takes 30 years, the same length as most careers. The average first-time buyer is almost 40, and the average house costs 10 times the average income. That's not a free market. That's a designed one. You're not locked out by bad luck. You're locked out by math. Because as long as credit keeps expanding, housing can't get cheaper. And as long as housing stays expensive, credit must keep expanding. It's a cycle that feeds itself and feeds on you. And it gets darker. Your inability to buy isn't just tolerated, it's monetized. Every person who can't afford to buy becomes a permanent renter. And those rents, they don't vanish into thin air. They flow upward to the same investors who own the debt you can't escape. Your rent is someone else's yield. Your dream of ownership is someone else's business model. We've entered an age where the middle class no longer owns property, it occupies it. Welcome to the era of the permanent tenant. A society of owners is independent, a society of renters is compliant. Because when you own, you can say no. When you rent, you can't. That's the quiet genius of the system. It replaced control with convenience. You don't need to tell people what to do if you can make them too busy paying for it. Think about the irony. You're told to work hard, save up, buy a house. But when you do, inflation eats your savings, interest eats your income, and policy eats your opportunity. Meanwhile, the people who understand the game don't play by those rules. They borrow at 4% to buy assets that yield 10%. They pay themselves in dividends. They defer taxes through debt. They never stop leveraging because they know the government can't let the system collapse. They're not cheating. They're simply using the design as intended. The rich don't complain about the system. They use it. You, on the other hand, were taught to fear debt, to save in a currency that's designed to lose value, to believe that responsibility means owning your home, even if it means being owned by your mortgage. That's not freedom. That's financial domestication. Here's the quiet truth nobody says out loud. You were never meant to own your home outright. You were meant to owe it indefinitely. Because debt creates money. Debt creates taxes. Debt creates control. And the system only works if you stay in it. So when politicians talk about fixing housing, what they really mean is keeping it from collapsing. Because if home prices actually fell to affordable levels, banks would lose collateral, governments would lose tax revenue, and entire economies would seize. So they can't fix it. They can only maintain the illusion. And yet, here's the strange beauty of it. Once you understand it, you stop feeling trapped. Because the goal isn't to escape the system, it's to outsmart it. If inflation punishes savers, hold assets. If the system rewards borrowers, become a strategic one. If the economy runs on credit, use credit like a tool, not a trap. The difference between drowning and sailing isn't the water, it's knowing how to move through it. Understanding the system doesn't mean loving it, it means seeing it clearly so it doesn't control you. So why can't you afford a house? Because houses aren't built for living anymore. They're built for leveraging, for storing wealth, for sustaining the illusion that growth and debt are the same thing. Because every loan creates money, every payment feeds the banks, and every inflated price props up the state. It's not broken, it's designed. And until that design changes, the only way to survive the game is to understand it better than the people who built it. This is the Money System Decoded. If you want to understand how the game really works, not the version they teach you in school, subscribe and let's keep decoding.